Good morning, students. Welcome to our online class. This is your social science period. Students, today, through this recorded video class, I am going to continue the same unit, that is Nationalism in India, from history book. I repeat, today, through this recorded video class, I am going to continue the same unit, that is Unit 2, Nationalism in India, from history book. I appeal and suggest all my students to watch this video thoroughly and attentively so that they can understand the content, the concept in a clear manner. Fine, students. Now, let us move to the unit. Today, I'll continue the same topic, that is civil disobedience movement, which was started by Mahatma Gandhi. So the same movement we will continue today in this recorded video class. And our first topic is how participants saw the movement. Yesterday I told you that Mahatma Gandhi called off the civil disobedience movement when it was turned into violent one, and after some time again he restarted the civil disobedience movement, and that movement went for 1 year, and after that again in July 1934, in 1934, this civil disobedience movement lost the momentum. Now let us see how participants saw this movement. Who are the different social group people participated in this civil disobedience movement? Why these different social group people have joined in this movement? What were their ideals? And what did Swaraj mean to all of these people? I repeat once again. Who are the different social group people who participated in this civil disobedience movement? Why did they join to this movement? What were their ideals? And what did Swaraj mean to all these different social group people? Now, let us begin from the countryside and from villages. In the countryside, listen carefully, very, very important now. Here, countryside means what? Villages. So, in the villages, in the rural areas, who are the people who participated in this civil disobedience movement? Who are those people? Who are the social group people in the countryside who participated in this civil disobedience movement? So, in the countryside, rich peasants of Gujarat who are called Patidars. So, in Gujarat, listen carefully, underline. In Gujarat, the rich peasants were called Patidars. The rich peasants in Gujarat were called Patidars. In the same way, Jats, Jats, Jats are also the rich peasants who are found in Uttar Pradesh. So the Patidars of Gujarat and the Jats of Uttar Pradesh both are the rich peasants. These people, they actively took part in this civil disobedience movement. These peasants, generally, they are the producers. They are growing commercial crops. They are growing commercial crops. They are peasants. These rich peasants, they are growing commercial crops in their fields. But due to that great economic depression and the falling of prices, whatever produce these peasants have made, okay, those were badly hit. I can say in the countryside, rich peasants of Gujarat, namely Patidars, and rich peasants of Uttar Pradesh, namely Jats, they took active part in the civil disobedience movement. These are the people who were the producers of commercial crops, and these rich peasants, they were badly hit. They were badly hit by the trade depression and the falling of prices. These rich peasants, they were badly hit by the trade depression and the falling of prices. As their cash income disappeared when the prices were decreased, when there is a trade depression, then what happened? These rich peasants, they were badly hit, and their income, their source of income was disappeared. As a result, these people unable to pay the government's revenue demand. I mean, generally farmers has to pay the land revenue to the government. Since their income is disappeared, hence they are not able to repay the land revenue to the British government. And the refusal of the government, moreover, the government also not agreed to reduce the land revenue. So, and the refusal of the government to reduce the revenue demand led to a widespread resentment among these people. Generally, these farmers were badly hit due to trade depression and falling in prices. As a result, their income is disappeared, and they were not in a position to pay the land revenue to the British government. Moreover, the British government is also refused to reduce the land revenue of these people. Hence, there was a growing resentment or discontentment among these peasants. So, with the discontentment, these people, they rose into what? British government. They started resented against the British government. So, these rich peasants became enthusiastic supporters of the civil disobedience movement. I mean, already these rich peasant Jats and Patidars, they showed the resentment against the government, and moreover, these people, they actively participated in the civil disobedience movement, which is started by Mahatma Gandhi. They organized their communities. All the rich peasants, Patidars, Jats, they organized their communities, and at times forcing reluctant members to participate in the boycott programs. All these peasants, they made all their community people to participate in the boycott movements or boycott programs as a part of civil disobedience movement. For them, for these people, for them, fight for Swaraj. For them, fight for Swaraj. Listen, for rich peasants like Patidars and Jats, what is meant of Swaraj? So for them, fight for Swaraj was a struggle against the high revenues. For these rich peasants, Patidars and rich peasants, Jats of Uttar Pradesh, for them, the meaning of Swaraj is what? That a struggle against the high revenues which are imposed by the government. But they were deeply disappointed. I mean, these Jats and Patidars who actively participated in this civil disobedience movement and also all boycott movements, they were disappointed when Mahatma Gandhi gave a call off to end the civil disobedience movement in 1931. Okay, so Mahatma Gandhi, already Mahatma Gandhi gave a call to end this civil disobedience movement. So when Mahatma Gandhi entered this movement, all these peasants, Jats and Patidars, they were disappointed. Okay, And moreover, the British government also refused to revise the land revenues. Okay, hence what happened? These people, they were unhappy, and moreover, when once again Mahatma Gandhi restarted this civil disobedience movement, when once again Mahatma Gandhi restarted the civil disobedience movement, at that time these Jats and Patidars, these peasants, they refused to participate in it, because earlier they participated actively with a lot of enthusiasm, but Mahatma Gandhi gave a call off to that movement. And moreover, the British government also have not revised their land revenues, so they were unhappy. So when Mahatma Gandhi restarted this civil disobedience movement, then these people, they refused to participate in this movement. So this is about the rich peasants. Now coming to the poor peasantry, poor people, poor farmers. So far we have studied rich peasants. Now let us study about the poor peasantry. I mean the poor farmers in the rural areas. So here the poor farmers, the poor peasantry, okay, were not just interested in lowering the what revenue demand. I mean even the poor peasants also, I mean they want that the revenue, okay, which they are paying to the landlords, or I can say landlords is one people, at the same time government. So these people, they were not only, I mean, want to reduce the land revenues by the government and also by the landlords. Many people, these poor peasants, they are actually working in others' land, because these poor peasantry, they are not having their own land. Hence, they are working in others' land, or they took land from the landlords and they started doing cultivation. Sometimes cultivation was badly hit by droughts or excess rainfall. So at that time, these people unable to repay the land revenue to the landlords. Okay, so the landlords, they, I mean, they're taking the land back from them. In this way, these poor peasants suffered a lot. So these poor peasants, they not only want the lowering of the land revenue by the landlords, but also what they're demanding that the revenue which they're paying to the British government should be decreased. You know, as the depression continued, there's a as the trade depression continued and cash income dwindled, when their incomes are decreased, the small tenants found it difficult to pay the rent. You know, the trade depression continued, fall in agricultural prices. Then the small poor tenants, or small poor peasants who are working as a tenants on other fields, they're unable to repay the rent to the landlords. They want, or I can say they wanted that the unpaid rent to the landlord should be remitted. These poor peasants, they want that for 1 2 years their landlord should remit their land revenue. I mean, waive off or excuse their land revenues for 1 2 years. Hence, for that purpose only, these people joined a variety of radical movements. All these poor peasants, they joined in a variety of radical movements. Okay, often led by socialists and communists. These movements were led by socialist people and communist people. Apprehensive of raising issues, they might what upset the rich peasants and landlords. When these poor peasants, when they started their movements against their landlords, okay, then that was not liked by the rich peasants. Moreover, the Congress Party, Indian National Congress Party, was also unwilling to support these people. The Indian National Congress also what unwilling to support what the no rent campaign. Actually, these poor peasants, they are started the revolt against the landlords to waive off their revenues for 1 2 years. They said that we will not pay rent when their harvest is bad, because they are, or moreover they are badly hit by the trade depression and falling agriculture prices. They were not in a position to pay the rent to the landlords. So they said we will not pay rent, but and they started movements. But the Indian National Congress Party, they were unwilling to support this no rent campaigns in most of the places. Hence, the poor peasantry got very angry. They got very angry. So the relationship between the poor peasantry and the Congress was strained. So the relation between the poor peasants and the Congress remained uncertain. So these poor peasants were not happy with the Indian National Congress, and further they have not supported the INC. Next, the same way here, just a minute. Now, another class we will read, that is business class. I mean merchants, business. So whether this business class also participated in the civil disturbance movement, if participated, how they participated, how they supported this Indian National Congress in carrying out this civil disturbance movement, let us see. So here the business class people, what about the business class or classes? How did they relate to the civil disobedience movement? How they participated, when they participated, why they participated? Why do the business class people participated in the civil disobedience movement? For this business class, what is meant by Swaraj? Let us see. You know, when the World War I took place between 1914 to 1918, so during this World War, these Indian merchants and industrialists, they made a lot of profits. They made huge profits during World War I. During that period, 1914 to 1918, these merchants and industrialist people, they made huge profits. They produced goods and sold at high prices, and they made a lot of money, huge profits, and became powerful also. This issue we have studied, and we have not studied, but one lesson is there, that is age of industrialization. There it was mentioned. Fine. Now when you are having more profits, when you are having more money, naturally you will try to expand your business. So these merchants and industrialists, when they made huge profits during the World War period, they became rich. Now they wanted to spend their surplus money to expand their businesses. Now they now reacted against the colonial policies. These merchants and industrialists, now they started reacting against the colonial policies that restricted business activities. Actually, the colonial government, the British government, they imposed so many restrictions on merchants and industrialists on trade. So these merchants and industrialists, they reacted against the colonial policies on what? The restricted trade activities. Moreover, these business people or merchants or industrialists, they wanted protection. They wanted protection against what? Imports of goods. They wanted protection of importing of goods and a rupee sterling foreign exchange ratio that would discourage imports. I mean, these industrialists and merchants, they want that the colonial government should stop importing goods into India. If the imports are coming to India, then who will purchase the goods which are produced by these merchants and industrialists? So these merchants and industrialists, they want the protection from imports of foreign goods into India. Moreover, these business class or merchants and industrialists, they organize business interests. They form, in order to organize business interests, in order to maintain their business interests, these merchants and industrialists, they formed Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920. Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920. You please underline, all the business class people, merchants people, industrialist people, in order to protect what? Their business interests, they formed Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920, and later they also formed the Federation of the Indian and Commercial Congress. The Federation of Indian and Commercial Congress. I repeat, the Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress and Industries, FICCI, I mean Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and what industries. I repeat, these merchants and industrialists, in order to organize their business interests, first they formed Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress in 1920. Later they also formed the Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, FICCI. You please underline FICCI, Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, FICCI. It was formed in 1927. FICCI was formed in 1927 by the merchants and industrialists in order to protect their business interests. Now, these organizations led by prominent industrialists like Purushottam Das Thakur Das. Purushottam Das Thakur Das is the leader of this FICCI, along with G.D. Birla. G.D. Birla, Purushottam Das and the Thakur Das, G.D. Birla and several other industrialists are the prominent members of this FICCI, Federation of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries. The industrialists attacked the colonial control over Indian economy. These industrialists, they attacked on the colonial control over Indian economy, okay, and supported the civil disturbance movement. So these industrialists, merchants, they attacked on the colonial policies because they are importing goods from foreign countries. So they attacked on the colonial policies, and moreover they have joined in the civil disobedience movement which was called by Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so when it was first launched, these people, I mean civil disobedience movement was launched twice. So when the civil disobedience movement was started first, these people actively participated in this movement. Okay, moreover, not only they participated, they gave financial assistance. Finance was given by these industrialists and business people, merchants people, in order to carry out this civil disobedience movement. These merchants and industrialists, they also gave financial assistance, okay, in order to carry out the civil disobedience movement, and refused to buy or sell foreign goods. That also they have taken. I mean, these people, they actively participated in this civil disobedience movement when it was started first by Mahatma Gandhi. They financed this movement to carry out this movement. At the same time, they take the oath that they will not purchase and sell the foreign goods. Most businessmen came to see Swaraj as a time when the colonial restrictions on business would no longer exist. So according to this business class people, I mean industrialists and merchants, what is meant by Swaraj? Swaraj means here. So I was telling about what is meant by Swaraj for this merchant class or industrialist class. For them, Swaraj means to remove all the trade restrictions. To remove all the trade restrictions which were imposed by the British government. Okay, students. Actually, I told you, these merchants and industrialists, they made finance in order to carry out the civil disobedience movement, and they also stopped purchasing and selling the foreign goods. So initially, when Mahatma Gandhi started this civil disobedience movement, they took active part. Moreover, so for most businessmen came to see Swaraj as the time when colonial restrictions on business would no longer exist, and the trade and the industry would flourish without any constraints. I mean, for merchants and industrialists, here Swaraj means removal of all restrictions, removal of all the trade restrictions. The trade should flourish without any constraints. Okay, but after the failure of the second roundtable conference, second roundtable conference held in London, where Mahatma Gandhi participated, but in the middle he boycotted and came back to India and went to fast unto death. So when the second roundtable conference was failed, business groups were no longer uniformly enthusiastic. They were unhappy. With the failure of the second roundtable conference, the business class or the merchants or the industrialists, their enthusiasm was decreased. Okay, Now, they were apprehensive of the spread of militant activities. These people, they were apprehensive of the spread of militant activities and worried about this prolonged disruption of their business. They found here and there, now and then, these militant activities are going on in India. Moreover, for a long period, they actually for a long period these people have closed their shops and they actively participated in this civil disobedience movement. So as a result, their business was completely become dull. So due to this militant activities and the long prolonged disruption of their business, as well as the growing influence of the socialism amongst the younger members of the Congress, these people decided that they should stop joining in this civil disobedience movement. Now coming to another class, that is industrial class. Industrial class. So how this industrial class, whether they participated in this civil disobedience movement or not, if not, why they have not participated, let us see. Industrial working class did not participate in the civil disobedience movement. The industrial class people, the industrial workers, the industrial working class people, the industrial working class people have not participated in this civil disobedience movement in large numbers. Except in Nagpur. You know where is Nagpur? Nagpur is in Maharashtra. Today it is in Maharashtra. So except in Nagpur region, remaining all other areas, the industrial working class have not participated in this civil disobedience movement. But in Nagpur region, some industrial working class have participated. As the industrialists came closer to the Congress, already we have studied in the top paragraph that many merchants and industrialists, they financed this civil disobedience movement. They stopped purchasing and selling foreign goods. That means they came very close to the Indian National Congress Party, and the party also supporting them. So since the industrialists and the merchants, they were very close with the Indian National Congress, that political party, that's why this industrial working class, they have not joined in this movement. Generally, working class and owners or industrialists, they will not be together always. Always owners will be against of the workers, or working class is always against of the owner class. So since the industrialists came very close to the Indian National Congress, the workers stayed aloof. They kept themselves aloof without joining in this civil disobedience movement. But in spite of that, some workers did participate in the civil disobedience movement. Despite these differences, few industrial workers, they did participate in this civil disobedience movement. Selectively adopting some of the ideas of Gandhian program, like boycott of foreign goods, as a part of their own movements against low wages. Boycott of foreign goods or movement against low wages and poor working conditions. So on poor working conditions, against low wages, boycott of foreign goods, on these some selected Gandhian ideas, they fought against, they participated in this civil disobedience movement. Only few working class, that in Nagpur region, they participated on some of the Gandhian issues such as low wages, boycott of foreign goods and bad working conditions. On this issue they fought. Now there were strikes by the railway workers in 1930. In 1930 there was a strike by the railway workers and the dock workers in 1932. Dockyard means what? Bandargah. Dockyard. So there was a strike organized by the railway workers and the dockyard workers. Railway workers went on strike in 1930 and the dock labor workers, they went on strike in 1932. In this way, in 1930, thousands of the workers in Chota Nagpur mines. Chota Nagpur is a place in Jharkhand at present. This Chota Nagpur plateau is in Jharkhand. So thousands of workers in the Chota Nagpur mines, oh, okay, they wore Gandhian caps. They wore Gandhian caps and participated in the protest rallies and boycott movements or boycott campaigns. I mean, many workers in 1930, many workers in the Chota Nagpur mines, they wore Gandhian caps and they participated in all the boycott movements. But the Congress was reluctant to include workers' demands as a part of its program for struggle. But the Indian National Congress leaders, they were reluctant to accept the demands of the workers. Hence, they have not welcomed these workers into their party. Moreover, the Congress party have also not supported this working class in solving their problems. Okay, it felt that this would alienate industrialists and divide an anti-imperial forces. I repeat, it felt that this would alienate industrialists and divide the anti-imperial forces. Next one. Another important feature of the civil disobedience movement was the large-scale participation of women. So, women participation. Let us see how women participated in this civil disobedience movement. Here it mentioned that women actively in a large scale they participated in this civil disobedience movement. Okay. During Gandhiji's salt march, when Gandhiji did the salt march, salt satyagraha from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. So during this salt march, thousands of women came out of their homes to listen the Gandhiji. Okay, they participated in protest movements. They participated, all the women, they actively participated in all the protest marches or protest movements. And they also manufactured salt. They also manufactured salt, even picketed foreign cloth and also liquor shops. I mean, women also actively participated in the civil disobedience movement. When Mahatma Gandhi started the salt march, then also women actively participated. Wherever Mahatma Gandhi stayed during night time, the women went there to listen to Mahatma Gandhi. They participated in all protest campaigns. Moreover, they also participated in the protest movements like picketing of foreign cloth and also liquor shops. I mean, they showed their disinterest in using foreign cloth, foreign goods, and also they stopped the people entering into the liquor shops. Many women went to jail also. Even many women went to jail during this civil disobedience movement. So this is in rural areas. Now, in urban areas, these women were from high caste families. I mean, generally, in the urban areas, these women were from the high caste family. In rural areas, they came from richer peasant households. I mean, high caste family women in urban areas and in rural areas, that rich peasants household women both actively participated in this civil disobedience movement. I mean, in urban areas, high caste family women, in rural areas, the rich peasants women households, they actively participated in this civil disobedience movement. Similarly, moved by the Gandhiji's call, they began to see service to the nation as scared duty for women. When Mahatma Gandhi gave a call, when Mahatma Gandhi gave a call to all the sections of the people in the society to participate in this civil disobedience movement, to make this movement a mass struggle against the British rule, to violate the British rules and regulations. So women thought that, here they thought that service to the nation is a sacred duty of women. I mean, working for the cause of the nation is a sacred duty of a woman. So it is a duty of every woman to participate in all these movements which is against of our country. So service to nation is a sacred duty for all women. Yet this increased public role did not necessarily mean any radical change in a way of position of women was what visualized. Gandhiji was convinced that it was the duty of women to look after home and health. I mean, health, H-E-R-T-H. Gandhi said that he addressed all the women, those who participated in these movements. He said that it is the responsibility, it is the duty of all the women to take care of their home first and also hearth. Be good mothers, be good wives, take care of the children. So Mahatma Gandhi said that you please concentrate more on your home, on your hearth, on your children, on your, be a good mothers, he suggested. After, I can say, and for a long time, the Congress was reluctant to allow women to hold any position of authority within the organization. And for a long time, even the Indian National Congress leaders also, they were very much reluctant, but they reluctant to allow women in their party. For a long time, women were not allowed to active participate in this. Indian National Congress Party. It was keen only their symbolic presence. Only symbolically their presence is there, but they have not given any active role to these women in their party. Okay, students. So up to this topic, I have taught students. So in the next video, I'll continue the remaining topics, and with that video, we will complete our this second unit of history, that is nationalism in India. So the remaining topics I'll cover in next video. Till then, take care. Thank you.